This is Special Chronicles, giving respect and a voice to people with special needs.
I shudder thinking how the world can be so cruel, and my voice to those who care. It's time we try, it's time we care, it's time we stand. It starts with a voice.
Welcome back to the Special Chronicles show. Had to get a sip of water before going live. I'm Daniel, founder of Special Chronicles and a Southern Tribal International Global Messenger of Special Olympics. So excited. I think we had a little hiccup with that intro at the beginning, but so excited for this week's episode 457 of the Special Chronicles show. You can find links to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, all of our podcasts and newsletters, specialchronicles.com. And our guest this week on the Special Chronicles show is Natalie Bomke, anchor at Fox 32 News in Chicago in early 2020. Let me go. We'll get to that when I bring her on. But please put your virtual hands together as we welcome Natalie to the Special Chronicles show. Welcome, Natalie. So, yes, excited to have you. I think I might be a little frozen there, but hopefully there we go. We're back. So, as I was just saying, and we had briefly touched on this in the pre-show that in early 2020, so just before COVID hit, and about a year and a half ago, before COVID-19 and the global pandemic shut everything down, you visited me here in the Special Chronicles studio. I think it was before I had a green screen, but because you did a story on my story and Special Chronicles and being an athlete in Special Olympics. And so now you graciously agreed to come back on where I could turn the microphone around on you. And I think we had first met maybe a little bit before that at a holiday event. But it's excited to have you finally on to kind of turn the microphone around and have you on this podcast.
Yeah, I am honored that you asked me, Daniel. And I was so inspired by your story. I remember we were at a Special Olympics award dinner and we sat next to each other and I got to know you. And I thought, you told me about your travel overseas with the Special Olympics. And I thought I have got to share this man's story with more people because I was so inspired about, when you're telling me about your mom's pregnancy and what the doctor had said and, just the chances and the expectations, and you have beyond exceeded those. And so I wanted more people to know about that.
Yeah, thank you. So if our listeners want to go and watch that, specialchronicles.com/Fox32 Chicago will take them to that story, right?
Yeah, exactly. That'll be the link that'll take you to the story. You can see behind the scenes, little clips of Daniel's apartment as well, if you're interested in that. Yeah. And a picture of you as a baby, I believe, as well.
Yeah.
But just such a great story. And, oftentimes people ask me, Natalie, how many celebrities have you interviewed? And the list is very short. And I feel like if people ask you that question, it would be a whole lot longer.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I've had, I think, and it's funny that you mentioned that because people have I'm in addition to doing the looking and doing the podcast, and I'm also looking at United Airlines, and so I just got joined to be so we have Special Olympic Service Ambassador. So I'm one of 4 of the original here in Chicago, but then they're hiring more in other hubs by the end of this month. But one of the things that I was on a town hall a week ago, and they asked me the same thing, about the different celebrities. And so, yeah, I mean, it's it's neat that this platform not only get to talk to friends that also have different special needs and disabilities, but also people in the mainstream community that's somewhat touched on, because as you know, disability is the largest minority group, but the least seen, least understood. And so by not only spotlighting the stories that within our community, but also like celebrities, because once people can kind of, I think that's how we can really make inclusion a way of life.
Right. And I, you had asked me, I think, or you were going to ask me, you had asked me previously why I wanted to be involved with the Special Olympics. And that's one of the biggest reasons is I believe that the people with disabilities are the largest minority group, but yet they are the least seen and heard. And I don't have as many rights. And so that's something that I want to put momentum behind. And something that I want to support and I want to get other people involved in too, so they understand and see that perspective. And my cousin Teresa is a Special Olympian. She lives in Streator, Illinois, which is just outside Chicago. And I remember watching her, grow up and participate in the events. And it was such a proud moment for my aunt and uncle to watch her and have family involved in cheering her on. Because something else that I don't think people understand is that when you have a disability, oftentimes you're not able to participate in traditional sport activities at school. And so that the Special Olympics gives people an opportunity and an even platform to participate. And so there's so many reasons why I wanted to get involved, but obviously Teresa was kind of the springboard. And then from that, I started learning more about people with disabilities and the struggle and trying to move that forward.
Awesome. So let's now get into a little bit more of your backstory and tell us a little bit more about your connection with our disability community, and a little bit more about your cousin and your pre-involvement in our Special Olympics movement. And
so right. So it started with Teresa. She's about 10 years younger than me, and so when I was younger, I would cheer her on. I remember going, "Is the state event in Normal, Illinois?"
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I remember
the state summer games.
Yeah. So I remember cheering her on there, and now then she gets older and she has 40 medals that she's so proud of, and then luckily Fox 32 is a huge supporter of Special Olympics, and so since 2015 they have sponsored the Super Plunge into Lake Michigan, which happens in February, and I have proudly taken part in, even though it is almost torturous, Daniel.
I've done it.
To get into
I've done it as well with Dave Green, our CEO, and it's quite
it's an unforgettable experience.
It is.
It is. And so I participated in that. I've put together stories on our participation in that. And like I said, we've been doing it since 2015. So just about 6 years now, and sponsoring that as a station. And I've also had the opportunity to help out ComEd with their polar plunge team, the ComEd Coolers. And I've been able to put some supportive videos together for them. By the way, like the Super Plunge and the Polar Plunge are two separate events, in case people don't know. But they both happen in Chicago, and they're both jumping into Lake Michigan when it's really cold outside. So I've done that. And then one of the most exciting events that I have participated in is the television broadcast of the Ducky Derby. And so this was my first year participating in that. And just to see everyone come to downtown Chicago to see the giant dump truck pull up on along the Chicago River and dump all of the ducks like a tidal wave of yellow into the river, and to participate in that was really, really exciting.
Awesome. Yeah, and I did kind of briefly touch on the ComEd. Sorry, my notifications are coming up and I'm losing the notes. Okay. But you mentioned that you also helped out with the ComEd polo team, and in one of the sponsor breaks that we'll get to, ComEd is one of our partners at Special Chronicles, and with the Energy Force. I think you might have done a. I think I saw that you did a story on.
I did, yeah.
on
The
that,
Energy Force ambassadors, yes. And
so,
my cousin Teresa is actually an Energy Force ambassador, so I'm very proud of her for that.
Yeah, just like me as well. So so it's neat that we've got these different, not only organizations like Special Olympics, but companies like ComEd and even United Airlines, like, and that are really. Those two examples are different, like employment type jobs. Like one is more like kind of like with ComEd, kind of gives you the skills of like with customer service, but then United is actually taking it a step further and actually employs us. So, but it's neat that those companies that are kind of getting behind. I don't know if you want to kind of touch on that and how ComEd has helped you.
Right, and with ComEd, I don't know that they necessarily employ the the Energy Force ambassadors, but they do give a donation to whatever organization that supports them. So, for example, my cousin attends a day program called Streeter Unlimited, and Streeter that provides her with a job and friendship as well with the other people in the program, and so they were able to provide a donation to Streeter Unlimited so that program can continue. But really, I think it's companies seeing the value of certain employees, and knowing that they are hardworking and they're dedicated and they always come to work happy. They never have a chip on their shoulder, and the expectations, whatever you expect of them is always met and beyond. And so I think what I would like to see more companies understand that and the value of that.
Yeah, awesome. We have a podcast series on Special Chronicles called Unified at Work, and it's actually United co-produces that with me, and Bridge, the business resource group, is actually getting behind and fully supporting this Unified at Work series. But it's where we really and I just had Oscar Muniz, the former chairman and CEO at United, on, which if you get a chance to listen to that episode, it was I think 448. So if you go back and listen to that, one thing that Oscar mentioned that, and I don't know, I don't think he necessarily mentioned this on air, but when he, just like what you're going to do after this, Oscar shared it on his LinkedIn and Instagram and his social media, and Oscar said that this Unified at Work series is we're really having conversations about the meaning of unified employment. And in Special Olympics, we does say inclusive, we say unified. So, but like unified or inclusive, like what this unified, like we're really spotlighting these types of stories, and it's a series that I'm producing mainly in October because it's National Disability Employment Awareness Month. It's Down Syndrome Awareness Month. It's Learning Disabilities Awareness Month. I mean, there's a lot going on this month of October. But is there anything else about your backstory? I'm just about 2 minutes, and then we're going to take our first break. But is there any other connection with our disability community? I mean, what like that you would like to share? Or?
Well, I mean, really, it just started as that family connection, and then, I guess also I didn't see a lot of coverage of the disability community in Chicago with the news stations, and so I wanted to fill that void. And thank goodness, I love my news managers, and anytime I bring a story to their attention that spotlights that community, they are always welcome for me to tell the story. And so I'm really, really proud of that in Fox 32 for always giving that community a platform.
Yeah, awesome. So we're going to go ahead and in just 30 seconds take a first break, because if it wasn't for people supporting this podcast and this network, then we wouldn't be able to be behind the microphone. But when we come back, Natalie, we'll get to a little bit more about how you became an ambassador for Special Olympics Illinois for all Illinois program, and maybe in the future a global ambassador. But have to mention that as an international global ambassador. But
right,
we'll get into that and advice and some final thoughts coming up in the second half of the program. Our guest is Natalie Bomke from Anchor at Fox 32 Chicago. When the podcast continues after the break, we're going to take a quick break from our conversation today to learn how you can become a Special Chronicles supporter so we can continue to produce this podcast. Support for Special Chronicles comes from listeners like you. As an independent public media podcast, Special Chronicles will always be there for you. Now we're asking you to be there for us. As a nonprofit independent media organization, we can only make programs like Special Chronicles with listener support. Our programs provide weekly, candid, honest, and inspiring conversations about the people with disabilities community that creates awareness, support, and advocacy within each week's episode. Listeners tell us our shows are an enjoyable and necessary podcast for the intellectual and developmental disability community and everyone else who is able to listen to stories about life from a different angle. Please, if you and your family love our weekly podcast, make a one-time, monthly, or annual gift of thanks today. Support this podcast at specialchronicles.com/give. That's specialchronicles.com/give. And now, back to the show to continue the conversation today. And back to the show. Our guest is Natalie Bomke from Fox 32 Chicago. So, Natalie, I think in the first segment, and we kind of went a little bit off the conversation out of the plan of your backstory, but kind of can continue in this conversation and becoming an ambassador. You shared a little bit of kind of how we first met, but maybe take our listeners back to kind of building upon that personal experience, because I think with becoming an ambassador for, I guess, any organization, there's that kind of personal experience, but maybe kind of go maybe more in a little bit more detail about becoming an ambassador for Special Olympics Illinois and how you got started.
Well, and I guess taking it a step further too, for me, what it means to be an ambassador, and that is sharing the goodwill of the community of folks with disabilities, which I like to say are special abilities, because I don't think anyone really has a disability. I see my ambassadorship as a superpower, and that's kind of how I see people who are in the community, as they have special superpowers, and they're very unique to that individual. And I have had the distinct pleasure in being an ambassador of telling stories about Special Olympic athletes and Paralympic athletes, and the stories of people who weren't given a chance but were able to rise to the occasion. And I think that's really the theme of Special Olympics, right? Is you're underestimating a group of people, but they always rise to the occasion. And with going back to being inclusive as well, they're such an inclusive community, no one's turned away.
Absolutely.
Everyone's loved and supported.
Yeah, and that's what I think a big part of our inclusion revolution is about how what started 52 years ago.
And it was like, when was the 50th anniversary?
When was it? So
what year was that?
2018. So 53. I only know because Special Chronicles was 10 years then. So, but yeah, so 53 years ago, what's once a movement for those of us with ID, for those of us with disabilities, is now it's now inclusive, where it's now either with sports or with leadership, kind of somebody without, like yourself, kind of either leading or playing sports alongside with us. So I think it speaks a lot to the power of the inclusion revolution. And right. I know on behalf of the 23,000 athletes in Illinois, we're thankful that you're joining the inclusion revolution.
I'm happy to be a part of it. I mean, and I see myself, when you say, what does it mean to be an ambassador? I'm an advocate for the community. I'm one tiny person that can get the word out, and who wouldn't want to be a part of this community? as I mentioned before, with the love and the support, and I mean, everyone is accepted, and I wish our world was like that. I wish that traveled far and wide.
Well, there's my mom has a quote that she says, and she, I guess she kind of came up to this after, because I started competing in the beginning of high school, and so after she saw me competing for the first time, she said, if the whole world were like Special Olympics, then there would be no wars. And I think that's a powerful statement. And then there's a quote that I kind of say is that hate can be met by love. And I think kind of those two quotes, that first one from my mom and then the second one from myself, I think kind of speaks a lot to the power of the movement of Special Olympics, the power of the inclusion revolution. I don't know if you want to comment on.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's overlooking our differences, right? And focusing on what we have in common, and we all have a common goal. And really at the core, we all want to be appreciated, and we want to be respected, and we want to be seen for what we do best,
Yeah, absolutely. So now you mentioned about how you hope that everybody can come and join us at Special Olympics and kind of join this movement. Maybe if you could kind of talk a little bit about some of the events that you have been included, whether it's fundraising events like the Chicago Ducky Derby or the Super Plunge or the Polo Plunge, which I'm glad that you told our listeners there's a difference, because there was a difference between the Super Plunge and the Polo Plunge that not a lot of people know about. But yeah, but whether it's that or even any of the sporting events that whether you've seen your cousin or you've seen any of us other athletes compete in, kind of give a kind of a glimpse. And I know with I have a degree in journalism, as you know, so kind of in that kind of TV, podcasting, media kind of storytelling, kind of give our listeners kind of a little story of what it's like to be at one of our special events.
I mean, it's like standing in a rain shower of happiness. I mean, it is, I just, the Ducky Derby, as I was saying before, it blew my mind and brought tears to my eyes, because, here I am like preparing for the television broadcast, and I was kind of nervous because it's live, and is conversation going to flow, and are we going to be able to stay on track? And I mean, you're just it was so easy though, because you're so overwhelmed by all of the people who are downtown, and there's so much to look at. I mean, you've been along the Chicago River. Imagine the Chicago River packed with people, and now I know it's less than a mile. I can't give the distance because I'm horrible with math and distance.
I know.
That's why I'm a journalist, not a mathematician.
I know. Same deal.
But I mean, like thousands of people downtown, and all there supporting this cause, and all hoping, cheering for their ducks and hoping their duck makes it to the finish line first. I was one of those people. I was sure I was going to win, and I did not. But I was happy to support the cause. But I mean, the moment those ducks tumble off the dump truck and off of the Columbus Bridge and like into the water, and that, we were able to interview some of the athletes, because they have this giant, like larger than life lever that they pull for the ducks to fall into the water. And they were talking about their experience with Special Olympics and what it means to them. And then there's the Duck Derby ambassador who gets to pluck the winning duck out of the water. And I mean, it's just, my heart was like so full with joy, after the event, and it carried me through. It's going to carry me through the rest of the year. And awesome. I'm already looking forward to next year's Ducky Derby.
Awesome. And do you have plans to participate in any other events? I mean, it seems like...
yes. I mean, the Polar Plunge is coming up. That is coming up in February of next year. And like I said, our station is a sponsor. I think last year we plunged on our own last year. And so we each made, which I really loved that. So everybody at the station, all the on-air talent, they each plunged in their own special way. And then we took all those different videos and put them together and posted them online. And so I had this grand idea that the Wienermobile was going to show up at my house, and I was really not plunging, but just showing off the Wienermobile. and so I don't even remember how a chili dog, that's right, I called it a chili dog to try to tie it into the plunge. And so, but I had coworkers who, gosh darn it, some plunged into piles of snow, one of them made a frozen cocktail. I mean, like all spin-offs of these, the plunge. And so that was really fun, even though we weren't able to plunge in person this last year. We made it work.
What I did,
looking forward to it.
I know, and since we couldn't plunge in person, what I did last year or this past year, I got the exact date, but I put a bunch of like on my back porch, I put a bunch of snow and ice kind of in a little like a mixing bowl that you would usually cook with, and then I had my dad put that. I mean, I filmed it. Well, my dad filmed it, but put that over my head, and I think I kind of screamed a little. I screamed a little too loud because like my dad didn't want me to like kind of scale the navels.
Right.
But I mean, I think it's neat that COVID didn't stop, the pandemic didn't stop I think it might be a little, the pandemic didn't stop us participating in the polar plunge and finding creative ways.
Well, and you got to see, I mean, it was almost like an extra layer of passion too, I mean, because everybody went the extra mile, and so you could see how passionate people were about the cause because everybody had to do their own thing. So they had to take time, come up with an idea, get the props, and everybody followed through. I mean, our station was overwhelmed by the amount of people that wanted to participate and that, really took time to do something special.
Yeah, awesome. So this, by the time this episode, like the kids say, drops on Monday, December 6th, I think the plunge season will be in, I want to say the beginning of 2022. So we should tell our listeners, I think they go to, I should know this, PlungeIllinois.com, I think. Did I get that right?
It's either .com or .org.
.org. Yeah, one of those. Maybe we should just point them to soill.org.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's funny. Maybe they'll find another event they want to participate in.
Yeah. So that's a good thing to mention. Yeah. So soill.org or specialolympics.org. If people are listening and they're not in Illinois, not in Chicago, specialolympics.org, you can find their local program, right?
Right.
In I think 190 countries. So why do you work with, and we've got like maybe 2 minutes before our next break, but why do you work with and why are you an ambassador for Special Olympics Illinois?
Well, I mean, again, like just the joy and the community, and I mean, the stories are really endless of each athlete has a very specific, unique and special story as to why they participate and what it means to them. But the common thread is that it just brings a huge sense of accomplishment, and there's such happiness in being able to participate in something that otherwise they wouldn't be able to without the Special Olympics. Awesome.
Great. There's a lot of, I think, powerful sound bites that it's going to be hard to choose to find one clip to pull out of this episode. But when we come back from the break, we'll get into some of your advice for other celebrities to become an ambassador. And maybe someday that that we could have more ambassadors. So we'll get to some of your advice as well as some final thoughts when we come back after the break when the podcast continues. So you're listening to the Special Chronicles show on specialchronicles.com. Our guest is Natalie Bomke, Inco at Fox 32 Chicago. When the podcast continues, we'll get into some of her advice and final thoughts after the break. And hold that thought. We're going to take a quick break from our conversation today to hear a message from our partner. Support for Special Chronicles comes from ComEd. Special Chronicles is proud to partner with the ComEd Energy Force Ambassador Program. The Energy Force is the country's first energy efficiency education program designed for and taught by people with disabilities. ComEd is powering lives and really is powering us here at Special Chronicles to keep the lights on and our technology is powered on. As ComEd powers the lives of us, they're literally giving a voice to people with special needs. We thank ComEd for the generous support of our mission at Special Chronicles. Learn more at specialchronicles.com/ComEd. That's specialchronicles.com/ComEd. And now we return to our conversation. This episode continues right now. And we ended abruptly, but our guest is Natalie Bomke, anchor at Fox 32 Chicago. I am Daniel, founder of Special Chronicles and a Silent Rival International Global Messenger of Special Olympics. So let's kind of continue and hopefully our listeners learned a little bit in the last segment about how you became and why you became an ambassador for Special Olympics Illinois. But maybe now take kind of a few moments to share your advice to hopefully there are other celebrities that follow you that you might come in contact with that might listen. Hopefully, will listen to this podcast. But share some advice for other celebrities on becoming an ambassador of our movement at Special Olympics.
Well, I think it's some people have a passion in life and other people have a purpose, and I believe that it's my purpose to advocate for this community. And I mean, it's such a feeling of gratitude, to be able to take part. And I'm thankful that I am able to support the community in really any way I can. And I was talking earlier about how everyone has a special ability and everyone's story is different. And I wanted to talk just a little bit about some of the stories that I've been able to share, about someone who has a special ability. And, I was able to interview two brothers who are both blind and deaf. And despite their special ability, they create beautiful artwork for nursing home residents. And so I spoke to them and their mom about this project and how it's brought so much joy to other people. So overlooking, what they have going on, they're able to support other people and not rely on others to support them, and I love that. And then I interviewed a chalk artist who is paralyzed and he doesn't really have use of his arms or legs or his hands, but yet he creates these beautiful chalk landscape pieces. He can't speak. So I interviewed him via a computer device that he has, and, just to tell his story. And then the other day I went to Dorothy's Sweet Shop that's on the north side near Ravenswood. And they are a sweet shop with chocolates and cakes and cookies that are made by and sold by people with special abilities. And so that to bring awareness of that and to be able to let people know, hey, they have like the best cookies in town. So if you're going to get cookies or cater an event, go to Dorothy's Sweet Shop. I mean, and that's circling back to what would I tell other people to get involved is just speak to one of the athletes, and find out why they're participating and what it means to them. And that's all you need to hear.
Awesome. I love that. And I know as an athlete, we're always excited to talk to people about our stories because growing up, those like in the past, there's a lot of people that might, and mine is more invisible, but even still, those people that might not necessarily want to talk to us, but like you said, that I love that advice that you said of just speak to us, get to know your story, get to know each of our stories. Want to touch on a brief thing on those. A new series it's on Peacock, which I know it's another streaming, which I don't know if we want to.
That's all right. You tell me about it, Daniel. I've not heard about it, and I'm anxious to hear.
So because I don't know if Fox has a streaming, so it's, but it's anyways, it's called Bone for Business. It's kind of a spinoff of that show Bone This Way. Jonathan Moe, who's the Emmy-winning TV creator, speaking of celebrities, I've had him on a few times, and so I just shot him just a quick email, and in a couple weeks he's going to be on. By the time this episode drops, so like maybe 2 weeks after your episode drops, people can hear from Jonathan and Mo about this show. But it follows the stories of full individuals with disabilities who own their own business, and it's. I won't give too much away, so people can hopefully they can keep subscribed to this podcast and listen to Mo. But it's neat how I think we touched on the beginning of this episode of this conversation about companies hiring those of us with special abilities, but also kind of another step is where if we and kind of I kind of have both ways, employed by United, but then also kind of this platform, this network at Special Chronicles is kind of, well, not kind of, it is
like an entrepreneurship.
Entrepreneurship. Yeah. And so what I love about this show, and I didn't finish watching it, but anybody can go stream it for free. I don't know if I still have that. I don't think I still have that banner up, but just go on Peacock and search for Bone for Business. That's BORN for Business. And it's a 10-episode series, season 1. And it's incredible. He makes it where it's kind of like a docu-series, but it's a bingeable series. And I've so far I've watched a few episodes, but it makes it, and that's why I'm glad, unlike Bone This Way, which was on A&E, this show is on Peacock, which with a lot of those streamers, it makes it so you can kind of binge and listen and kind of follow these stories. But it's amazing that those opportunities, and they Shopify, which is a big like online business site, I guess, they actually put the money behind this show, Bone for Business, that Jonathan Moe's company had produced. But it's neat that, because for a lot of people, yes, there's more companies that are creating inclusive, unified employment, but there's still not enough. And so if we have these entrepreneurial opportunities, whether it's Special Chronicles, whether it's John's Crazy Socks out of New York, or I'm blanking on the cookie one that you had mentioned, but
right, Dorothy's Sweet Shop, or even Gigi's Playhouse in a way, right?
Yeah, in a way, yeah. These from the show Born This Way, Megan Baumgals, who's in Colorado, whole Megology, those Sean's, I think it's Shawnees. I think it's kind of a play on his name, but there's all these different entrepreneur shops that kind of show people that, yes, we might have support to run our own businesses, but it's really showcasing that inclusion as a way of life, and showing that we have more special abilities than people might see on the first, and that's where it kind of
it goes back to that underestimation.
Yeah.
Don't underestimate Daniel. Don't underestimate any of these people because they go above and beyond. And it's really incredible. And
kind of going how you also kind of speak to us to get to know our stories, and so people can really kind of see that hard work ethic and really kind of really understand. And right. So we're going to go ahead and take another short break, one final break, before we get to final thoughts and a final question as we wrap up this conversation. And because if people are listening just to the audio podcast, go check out the video on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter Live. Just look up specialchronicles.com, click on live stream. You can find out all the ways to watch this episode. But people see that you all at the Fox 32 Chicago studio right now. So you probably have to go on air in a few hours.
I've got about 30 minutes before I need to start getting ready.
So that's why we're going to take a quick break, a quick 2-minute break. When we come back, we are going to wrap up in 5 minutes, so you have time to drink some more water and and get on air on Fox 32 Chicago. And so when the conversation continues with Natalie Bomke from Fox 32 Chicago. Hey, friends, podcast listener friends. I'd like to take a brief moment to let you know about how awesome StreamYard is. StreamYard is the easiest way to create professional live streams. StreamYard is a live streaming studio in your browser. Interview guests, share your screen, and much more. Stream directly to Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and other platforms. Sign up for StreamYard and get $10 in credit with our referral link at specialchronicles.com/StreamYard. That's specialchronicles.com/StreamYard. You see the link right below on the screen here, and also will be in the show notes in the description below. But all of us at Special Chronicles, we love StreamYard. I've got a coffee mug I'm drinking coffee out of. Got a t-shirt on. I've got a sweatshirt. This StreamYard Puddles plush duck, Puddles the duck here in the studio, and just really love it. Makes really love StreamYard. It makes it easy to connect with guests. Just send guests the link to join StreamYard, and easily have a professional logo and banners and graphics, and it just makes it easy to pre-record, to live stream on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. Really love StreamYard. It's helped to make the audio podcasts and the video versions of the audio podcasts that I've been doing for the past 13 years. It's helped to make the video versions up to the next level, to a more professional level, while also making it easy to live stream. So all of us at Special Chronicles love StreamYard. Once again, if you want to sign up with StreamYard, specialchronicles.com/StreamYard. That's specialchronicles.com/StreamYard to sign up and get $10 in credit with our referral link. I hope you all will sign up for StreamYard, and happy live streaming. And until then, sign up for StreamYard and get $10 in credit with our referral link at specialchronicles.com/StreamYard. That's specialchronicles.com/StreamYard. And now back to the show. And we're back. Joining me in the studio.
How did you change so fast?
Yeah, I know. I changed so fast. Isn't that amazing? I mean, see the power of podcasting. You can quickly change.
There's a lot of magic going on.
And you didn't even see me backstage. Change so fast.
No.
I got Puddles, the StreamYard plush duck here in the studio. I know the green screen kind of blends
He's
in here.
Adorable. I feel like I need a Puddles.
I know. Everybody needs a Puddles. So, but you can go to specialchronicles.com/StreamYard and sign up, and they've got a merch store that you can get some of this merch. Anyways, I think we need a Puddles for Special Chronicles.
Yes.
With that, any plugs? I don't know how people can follow you on social media, and we'll remind our listeners again how they can watch the Special Chronicles story. Watch when you actually came here and see behind the scenes, because I mean now people just see a green screen, but
I know you guys, because you'll get, if you watch the story that Daniel has the link for, that we highlighted on, there it is, then you can see all of his medals. You can see, like I said, behind the scenes in the studio and how all the magic works. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
But for me, you can follow me. I have several different handles, but Instagram is my favorite. And that is at Natalie Bomke Live. I also have a YouTube channel that I'm working on getting new videos for, so stay tuned for that. You can also follow me on Facebook at Natalie Bomke Fox 32 Chicago, or Twitter Natalie Bomke. Thank you so much, Daniel. Right on cue.
I'll put all those links in the show notes on specialchronicles.com/podcast457. And even not the full episode of this podcast, but the clip that we'll post on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. You can also put that 1 to 2 minute clip of this podcast on your YouTube channel to invite people. So yeah, we'll make sure to include all those links to your Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and to specialchronicles.com/box32 Chicago. We'll put links to all those in the show notes for this 457 episode. If you look in the description below, wherever you're listening or watching this, you can find those links. And if people want to watch you on Fox 32 Chicago,
yeah, so I'm on at 5 and 9 p.m. And I am the live desk anchor, and I also am anchoring Friday and Saturday nights. So check me out. Check me out along with all my friends here at Fox 32.
Awesome. So and just for listeners who might be listening in across the country, across the globe in different time zones, that's 5 and 9 p.m. Central Time on Fox 32 Chicago.
Right. And you can also stream the show on the website that you just pulled up, fox32chicago.com.
Awesome. So we'll put all those links in the show notes. And as we come to a close, any final thoughts on your before we get to that final question that I always conclude these conversations with, but any final thoughts that you like to share with our listeners on your overall time on the Special Chronicles show?
Well, I mean, it's one of the highlights of my day. Other than that, I mean, anytime I get to spend time with Daniel, I feel like anytime I get like a little piece of his time, because he's a very busy person, is just always a blessing. So thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me to come on the show and have a conversation. Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
it's amazing to have these conversations and for people to, I mean, it's a weekly show, unlike your newscast is daily, but it's neat that through the like the kids say on the pod that we're able to have these conversations and really have people have a greater understanding and acceptance and inclusion for what we're able to do. So I also just want to thank you for taking the time to come on, and also thank you for right before COVID hit a year and a half ago for really sharing my story and sharing the Special Chronicles story, because and the stories of other people with special abilities, because that's how people can really get to know us, and and that's how we can really make inclusion a way of life.
Yes.
So with that, we've got a bumper here that we're going to go ahead and play to introduce that final question as we wrap up this episode with. You got a little peek in the show notes, but we'll get to that final question.
We're not just athletes.
We are the ambassadors of an uprising.
Peaceful protesters.
In a rebellion against anyone
who has a fear of difference.
Difference.
Our demands are
Equality.
Dignity.
and the recognition of our
Shared humanity.
We will not stop.
or accept anything less.
Today, our world is
More divided than ever.
And coming together has never been more urgent.
The revolution.
is inclusion.
Find out more at jointherevolution.org.
And if you couldn't tell by the bumper, or by the show notes, but if you couldn't tell, I always conclude these conversations with I was at the Oshkosh Ale Show with United, and one of our supervisors in Chicago actually told me it's a powerful question. She's actually going to steer that question, and so I feel like you might, as another journalist, might steer that question for your stories as well. But what does inclusion mean to you?
And I actually made notes on this one because I wanted to make sure I included everything. And, inclusion means to be giving everyone access to the tools and the education and the support to pursue their goals, ensuring that we have an American workforce that's accessible to people with disabilities, and treating each other as equals and seeing each other's special gifts and talents. And that's what inclusion means to me.
Awesome. That's a powerful way to conclude our conversation. Hopefully we'll have to maybe when this COVID gets a little bit better, maybe we'll have to do another podcast at either another event or maybe in the Fox studio. We'll maybe have to do a in-person.
We'll make it happen, Daniel. Whatever you want.
We'll make it happen. But looking forward to seeing you at some more of our events as we open up. And it's been a joy to have you on the Special Chronicles show.
Thank you so much, Daniel.
Awesome. And until then, folks, we'll see you next time. And remember, thought maybe we could say this last line at the same time. Remember, choose to include. So until then.
Choose to include.
We'll see you next week.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Special Chronicles Shows podcast. Visit specialchronicles.com to follow Special Chronicles on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Subscribe to our channel on YouTube, and don't forget to hit the bell to be notified of new episodes. Also, subscribe to our newsletter mailing list to sign up for our updates and get exclusive content delivered to your inbox. Remember to do what you do with these podcasts. Subscribe or follow and rate and review Special Chronicles on Apple Podcasts, the iHeartRadio app, or wherever you get your podcasts. Finally, please share this episode and all of our podcasts with your friends and family. Help us grow our audience and reach 5,000 downloads of our audio podcasts and over 14,000 average monthly listeners. Have a great week, and we'll see you back here next week with exciting new guests. See you next week.
Special Chronicles, giving respect and a voice to people with special needs.